Hi. Okay, yeah, so amazing. Thanks everyone for joining. My name is Eimantas. I am co-founder and CEO of Digiklase slash Memby actually. And who we are is we are online live large class tutoring platform. Basically what we do is we do one-to-many learning, like we do online group lessons which are interactive before we start like jumping into funding, I think it kind of makes sense for me to give you a quick wrap of my personal journey. I have started teaching others when I was still at school in 8th grade, and I have never actually dropped teaching. I really fell in love with it. In 10th grade, I was already substituting teachers at school, and on 12th grade, I came to become one of the strongest physicists in Lithuania. So I really fell in love with education, academics. As to my professional career, it started a couple of years in e-commerce, a couple of years in IP consulting, and then me and my current co-founder, Silvestras, we co-founded our first startup, which was a food tech startup. We did some form of like a Groupon alternative, I would say, basically providing limited time offers for business citizens to jump in and try out different restaurants. And we nearly hit a product market fit. It was an extremely interesting journey because I had to go for funding and attract it, and it was super difficult, and we didn't. On March with the COVID, so the COVID hit us, and all the restaurants went into panic mode. So did we, and we actually just discontinued doing that startup. And we were like, walking in the woods and thinking like, what we are now going to do, that our startup failed and we have to make some kind of a pivot. And I have been digesting this idea of scaling my love for education and the understanding of how to present, like content online. And we just went out and did it. And with the lessons learned, which I hopefully will be able to express them, tonight, we were able to, we launched a very simple thing actually. We launched a Facebook group. Our MVP was a Facebook group, and I just streamed my lessons there. My co-founder ran the ads. And on last September, we launched officially because we saw like initial traction. We added like, a brand ambassador with like 5,000 euros of budget. So, a couple of guys, 5,000 euros budget. And while fully bootstrapping, like sustaining, our business from our own resources, we were able to actually close this June a round of 800k euros. Like a pre-seed round with one of the biggest investors in Europe, and the other one is in the Baltics. And now we are launching our branches we are now not only operating in Lithuania, we're also operating in Poland and Greece. So this is where hopefully, like I have like, the most interesting stories are lying in the funding part. So hopefully we'll be staying more to funding than to taxes. But guys, when we come to the Q&A, just feel free to ask anything. So yeah, let's jump to it. Why did it? Is it working? It did work.
It was working just 5 minutes ago. I'm not sure
yeah.
It isn't working now.
It's okay. I think I can just use,
yeah, this is working now.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So firstly, let's start from like, why do we need funding? Because actually, this is where like a lot of people fail already. And why is that? Is basically because everyone is at the stage. Basically, you have an idea which you wanted to prove, but you can't, but you're already aiming for funding. And this is our story with the first startup where we were knocking on the doors and basically asking for money. But after some time, we realized that we are in second phase, which is like if you're like if you can raise an idea, you have to be like a superstar. So maybe like you had a successful exit, maybe like you're a well-known person in the community, but there just has to be something else, like, you know. So a lot of us fail to realize. But basically, what I'm saying, that if you're like the rest of us, basically what you're aiming to do is the funding should come only after you already know you have proof the need for your product, and that you're able to scale it, and you know how to do it. You know, you have some initial proof. Funding only like as a gas, you know, and push the rocket. But the rocket should be like at least, you know, in this rough form already there, and it should show some proof that it's lifting off. It can lift off, you know. So this was essential for us actually to close the round, you know. And just to give you a quick backstory, so why we started with like a Facebook group, you know, and it's because most people have your funding needs, right? You imagine, like, you know, especially when you're in this idea stage, you're imagining that, let's say with 100K, I will be able to do X, Y, and Z, and now I'll be just, you know, if once I land the funding, then I will be good to grow my startup. And up until then, like, it's impossible. But actually, when you do a little bit of an exercise, let's say, of like how could I do it without any funding, you know, and this is the most interesting part.
I have a bit of a problem.
Yeah.
Like, isn't working that good. Yeah. I think we're gonna like do.
I can
Sorry,
shout.
No. It's perfect. The thing is that this isn't working so well today.
Okay.
The people at the phone were just having trouble.
Yeah.
hearing you.
So should I use headphones?
Can you speak it? No. Can you speak
Yeah.
it now?
Test.
I think that's perfect. Yeah, they're gonna hear it much
So
better.
I'll stay near the computer, right?
Sorry?
I'll stay near the computer. The computer is picking up the sound, right?
Yeah.
No, okay.
That's perfect. No
Yeah. So just coming back to the story, basically, you have to be, ready to scale, because if you know, and it makes so much sense, because if you aren't and you just get a load of cash, you don't know so many things. The cash usually, the biggest probability is that it will only just explode, you know, and the findings which you might make, that there might be an alternative, there might be, you know, there might not just be a need for it at this moment, or there might be a potential barrier, you know, and just to be able to walk a path which is decent enough should make like all the difference. And I'll get to what's that path. Just I don't know, maybe it's a reminder, but I think it's always healthy to just recap at ways of how you can get, you know, funding. So the most beloved one is actually with the revenue you're generating. This is basically what we learned the hard way, is that we started the idea, and we wanted the funding, and only, you know, and then we promised revenue. So you can't promise that, you have to show it. And being able, like, you know, to close a deal just by hand before, you know, like maybe like selling or leasing a couple of cabins, right, or doing something like manually before you start, to show that you're capable of having this initial traction. This is essential. So for us, what that meant is we knew that we hit something good. Then after our launch on September, so we played around from March till like June, I don't know, with the idea. So 4 months of exploration, where the revenue was like okay-ish, like a couple of thousands. And then we launched, like, you know, from on September, and our third month's revenue was like 20K, and this is where the game basically changed. You know, when we showed that each month we are able to generate more than 20K of revenue, then you are interesting. And until that stage, you might be semi-interesting, but you should most definitely be aware that this is the sexiness meter. The bigger your monthly revenue, the sexier you are, and most likely people are going to talk with you. So I wouldn't even consider investing without first having a proof, like a hard cash, you know, where you can turn on your bank account and you can show that at least 5,000 euros, like, is essential. Up until that point, there is you might be a superstar at the first point which I showed, so you might land some funding from that, but if not, I would aim for at least 5,000 euros. Actually, a good advice which I received from an amazing startup founder is that you can focus on upfront costs. So, upfront payments. So those are like, let's say, if you're into fitness business, maybe it can be like closing 2 years memberships instead of like 1 month to land that cash. And this is how you're able, you know, like although you sold just 1 month, it might be like cancel any day or like we refund you or whatever. But going for that upfront for a long period of time, it does two things. So firstly, it boosts your monthly revenue, which is what you want. But as well, it shows like the potential retention of your product, like what the potential need. You know, if you're able to land something upfront, like most definitely you can aim to do that upfront. So non-scalable ways, you know, like without any like external marketing, non-scalable ways, or just with small marketing, which is like stupid and ugly. Landing upfront payments is like acting for you just as a loan, which is like totally free. And if you get into numbers, if you love numbers, it's actually like, you know, the interest is negative. More money is a good thing. So going to various pitch battles, accelerator programs where like the winner gets access, it also gets you like two things, maybe even free experience, maybe like at least like this initial cash, and actually some recognition, you know. So for me, actually, I started from the third point, which isn't good. I would recommend to go from like to start from the first point and try to get, you know, like all the way back. With my idea, I went to this Reach for Change Accelerator, which was happening in 2019. My product was completely different, and this is what is extremely important. Like I pitched the like learning resources platform because I thought that this is essential, this is necessary, and this is going to revolutionize learning, like the way we learn. I won there like 2,000 euros, which got me to build the initial AT plan. Like from the AT side, you know, I just bought a platform because I don't know how to code. I only knew like how to teach. So and once I built the MVP, I presented it like for free, you know, for the students. And they were just like, eh. so it turned out that it wasn't so necessary. But it was a good thing because like before you go to investors, you already know that this doesn't work. So you can save a lot of time actually. And also from these accelerator programs, you're able to grow actually pretty fast. So it helped me at least. Casual bank loans, going for. So we had, with our start, we took a loan of like 7K maybe last year, so which was also necessary to jump through that very uncertain period, you know, where you don't know how things will go, etc. So just going for a casual bank loan of a couple of thousands of euros might turn out to be a good thing. Don't forget that. Grants is also like. It can be a huge time waster. I tried to go for grants of like 50k euros, which seem to be extremely easy because like you think that your idea is very innovative and necessary and has all those check marks, but when you dive into it, actually you waste a lot of time. And for some it might work. For us it didn't work out. So. But we had our lessons. And for grants, Lithuanian grants, there is MITA, M-I-T-A, for those who are interested in grants. If you feel that you can add some research. So you know, checking out that. And we have this one actually like community group. Actually a couple, but there is Vilnius University Tech Hub, which constantly is posting like the upcoming, you know, grants, and then there is this EU grant website, which I will not be able probably to spell out, but if you would just Google EU grants in Lithuania, you would get to this page where you would basically see a list of all the active grants, and you might be applicable for some. And what you do is you use Invega. I'm not sure if you know that that Lithuanian. I don't know how to call association, maybe, not sure. So Invega, actually, basically it can pay off your grant expenses. So we actually just reached out to them, and they provided us with a consultant, and then we paid like 5k euros of all the expenses which were for writing the project and so on. So all the expenses can be taken care of by the Invega. Crowdfunding is a thing, but you have to be super successful to do that. You have to be amazing at marketing, trust me, fully amazing. And you have to be, it seems like an easy choice. I'll just post my idea online and people will throw in money, but it actually can be, I would say that this is the least recommended part. We actually tried to go for crowdfunding with the first startup, but along the way, when we created when we started creating all the campaign, we just understood how unplausible this idea is, and it might have turned out to work, but for us, too big of a challenge. And then there is two types actually of investments of funding, which are usually offered by the investors, like the ones I'm going to present. So there is this convertible note and equity investment. So convertible note is actually acts as a loan, which at the end of the period, like the traditional loan is that you just borrow the money and you pay it with interest, right? And for the convertible note, it's different. You borrow the money, but that money at the end of the conversion can either be paid off with cash or turned into equity. And those turned into equity terms are very differing from investor to investor. So you have to be extremely careful. This is the most dangerous type of investment because it can just basically ruin you. And we had actually an offer, like our first investment offer was an offer for a convertible note. And actually, what it have, if you were if you were just signing the offer, once we received it, what it could have done potentially is just basically we would have lost all the business. Basically, it would have meant that at the end of the conversion, we would have been left with 2% of the company. So extremely dangerous tool and extremely frequently used by bad reputation investors. So never ever consider even signing such a note without a good, strong consultant consulting you. And there are two in Lithuania, Cobalt and Srinen, who are best at that. So if you are going for it, so Cobalt and Srinen most definitely recommend you. They took the care of our deal, and it was amazing. As to equity investment, this is the standard. I'll purchase X% of your company for this amount of money, and basically here is the only place where a company's evaluation comes in, and it's very broad. It's very hard to go for an equity evaluation, but on fingers, the golden rule is to have a yearly revenue, and then find out the industry's coefficient. So it might be the case that in jewelry it is annual revenue times 6. It might be the case, So if you take your annual revenue, you multiply by 6. This is how much your valuation could potentially be, the business valuation. And if he offer you 10 times less, it means that you're crazy. And if he offer you 10 times more, it means that you have to be crazy not to take that deal. So So yeah, that's I think is this one is the most popular one I would say, and most loved one, and this is the one which we went with. Yeah, so and just also a refresh, maybe for some it's you know, it's boring material, but for some it's really essential, just to know like what type of investment sources we have. So there is venture capital funds, the ones who are taking all the risk. We might invest in the crazy idea, with a crazy good founder. They are taking the high risk, high reward approach, aiming to have like, you know, 100 times more, you know, the return on investment. We are aiming to have like 100x. Why is that? Because there is such a low chance of for the investment to be successful, that we have to do like multiple investments, how we thesis, how we pick out the startups, and we just go for it and hope to that the exits will cover the investment sizes. So in Lithuania we have Startup Wise guys, 70 Ventures. There is Open Circle Capital. Practica Capital is my favorite one. I really enjoy their approach. We have not so good ones. I'm not sure if I can share my opinion on Lithuanian disease, but I would say that I would be careful about Iron Wolf Capital. So yeah, 70 Ventures are amazing, Startup Migrants are amazing, and Practica Capital is super amazing. I don't know about Open Circle. Private equity funds like Robolis and partners are those which are more safer. So it might make sense, like for a jewelry business, to think of private equity funds. They need, like, you know, if the venture capital funds, we need you like to hit a monthly revenue target. With private equity partners, it's that they look into 5 years of the business. They just like everything, you know, and they look part by part, like can we you know, change something so that it would bring not 100 times bigger like revenue, but you know, return on investment of like, you know, 50%, like so 1.5 is maybe what they are aiming for. So if you have a traditional business, I think that private equity funds are extremely interesting, although we are very not well known and very few people actually know that we have this chance of investment source. Angel investors and accelerators and actually come into a combination. Mostly, it is very rare that an accelerator would take all the round, and it's very rare that an angel would take all the round. But if you're in the idea stage, this is where you can have some initial funding potentially. So going into finding like a private person and saying that I have this idea, you know, maybe you might find that you are like-minded. Maybe he knows like how he can help you or she, and you can by working mutually leverage the things. I'm not sure, but angel investors basically just are private people who are maybe previously known founders or whatever. So for us, our angel investors are super awesome. We have them as well in our shareholders list. So we have Martinas Gudnavičius, who is co-founder of Trafio. So and the way we've done the deal is that he actually has been mentoring me like for over a year before we like it turned out into an investment from his side. So so I would definitely, if you're looking into angel investors, the number one thing is that you have to be certain that you can access that person, and that access gives you some form of leverage. So for us, it was like our angel investors acted, I really accessed them like once a month, and once I did, you know, I could pick their brains and turn, you know, some ideas into action, and it might turn out that they might land you like a warm introduction to potential investors, which was the case with our angel. Accelerator programs like Y Combinator, most well known globally. We have Baltic Sandbox. Startup Wise guys have an accelerator, but it's very hard to get into it. And there are, I'm not sure, this is like the vast majority, like TechHub is an accelerator program, and so on. So yeah, and but mostly it's like the combination of any. It's easiest to get an accelerator into an accelerator program, definitely. So for the strategy, like the way I would approach, you know, if you're aiming, I know it sounds like a cliche, but we are very mostly, you know, like not considering funding. Getting funding is like getting. That it could be like considered like as a dating game, and what it leads is that basically everyone wants to just go to reach out and have it closed, you know, like have everything solved like in one day, and it just isn't happening, you know, when you approach this softly, where you remember that behind each brand there's a person with whom you have to build trust, relationship. This is extremely helpful. So basically to understand that there are stages. Our projector died.
No, actually you touched the cable.
Oh, it's working.
Sorry.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, so basically the number one thing is that you have to show that you know what you're doing. So it can be by, of course, showing that you understand the market. That most definitely has to happen. Showing that you know, let's say, what is the size of the addressable market, like basically for you, who are the competitors, and if you're saying that you don't have any, it's already a huge red flag. You have to know your competitors, you have to know what we are doing, and you have to know like how you're differing and why the difference is important. Then of course it's all about trustworthiness. So for me this was like one of the best takeaways, but like the best was that to show that you listen and you take action immediately. So I combined the combination of those two. So if for the first 10 investors I've met, it was mostly that I have this idea, give you money. With time, what I understood is that they are very good information sources, and when you approach them without any intent to close around, you know, to get investment, and to say that, look, I have these numbers. Like, what do you think? Like, how is it good? Is it bad? Like, I have this idea, you know, like just give me an opinion, you know, and not even mentioning funding. This is extremely important in the first stages. And once you do that, and for the, you know, and we say, yeah, this is a good idea, but I'm not sure like how you're going to solve this. And then, you know, tomorrow you just maybe send an email or give them a call and say, look, I have this idea, you know, like you presented that there might be a potential threat. I think this is the solution. That's interesting. But it would be good maybe if you could like test it, you know, and like and this actually these like short hints of very indirect requests. Actually, because we were able to pick those hints from the investors, this is what actually landed us the deal. Because we mentioned that they don't know you, and like for 2 months it is like this back and forth game. It was extremely intense, and I have dropped once we went full mode into the funding route. I have dropped doing everything except this. So I just meet like as much investors as I can. I take hints from them, and then I drop everything and I try to bring them answers. And if you're able to do that, and if we see that you are serious about this, you really want to do this, and you take like full responsibility for it, this is actually like at least what worked for us, and this is like the most overlooked, I think, part actually. And then if you have these foundations, all you have to do is then focus on your MRR, so which is like monthly recurring revenue. Have that goal of, let's say, I'll start the funding round once I'll reach, let's say, 10,000 euros per month, and then they won't be convinced like right away. They will need to pick your brains out to see how you understand everything, etc. If you have the trust, you have the revenue, and you can show a retention that your customers are coming back, and there is a need for your service. Like this is the best combination which you have, and this lands you to the best chance of getting a deal. And now your job becomes to get the best deal possible. So this is where the negotiation skill starts. This is where the strategic decisions of maybe having like a couple of reach outs and saying that that making one investor make a deal for you, then the other, and using that as a leverage can turn out to be a successful round. Yeah, and like I'm not sure actually. I thought that it might make sense for like 10 minutes, but I would be super excited if do we have time? Yeah, sure. So I would be really interested to see like how you imagine your funding should look like. So basically just writing out, I would really suggest to do this exercise. So I would love that everyone, those who are watching and those who are here, would get involved. Just basically, you have an idea, you have a case which you're already aware of, and I know that for some the amounts and like all the strategy are not there yet, but take it as a game and just go for just precise number. What's the amount of the funding you want? Imagine a Shark Tank. so if you know that show, you see that I want this. Basically just having like 1-2 sentences pitch of what you're doing, and saying how much money I want for what percentage of my company. I think it would be helpful for us to start with. So yeah, 10 minutes for that. Once you do that, I would love if you could like raise your hand, so maybe I could just check it out individually. So I would appreciate that. Basically, the idea of this exercise is to understand like, do you know where you would use the funds and how you would dedicate them, like is it to building product, is it to selling it, or is it to staff or whatever. So having just at least some understanding is really useful. So this is the aim of the first start. Please do so. Maybe you want to come in so everyone could see you from Zoom.
It's okay.
It is like Shark Tank now, fully.
Actually, this is just an estimate. It will be just my estimate.
Yeah.
For the beginning test, I think I will need at least 12,000 euros. As I said earlier, the first part of my idea is to create a functional website. So 10,000 euros will be allocated to creation of this website and marketing.
Basically the whole e-commerce website,
yes,
right?
Yes, e-commerce. And other 10,000 euros will be allocated to first group of products.
Yeah, and if you could briefly explain to the guys in Zoom, what's the idea?
My idea is to create a B2B functional jewelry website where we are planning to sell our jewelry products to the small businesses.
Amazing. And do you have an estimate, like what type of funding you would choose? Would you go for a convertible note, or is it more like an equity type of deal you would be looking for?
Actually, my idea is not very innovative, so I'm also only for the beginning planning to apply for grants, maybe.
For grants, or maybe loan, casual, yeah. Okay. And do you
search for Invega?
Amazing, yeah.
I'm planning to have a conversation with them. I already checked their website.
Yeah.
For now, I think I can get loan. I already have a company. Maybe we can get loan, and if it is possible, we can get grants.
Okay, amazing. Yeah, thank you. Thanks a lot. Amazing. It was really well. Is there anyone else who wants to do this Shark Tango thing? Yeah? Yeah, sure. It's a very good way of practicing. The more you do, the less stressed you are.
Okay. Hi, I'm James. I run half of Lithuania, as you can see, represent. So for my initial investment, I think I would need around 100,000 euros. This would go to renting a modern studio. So in Vilnius there's a lot of kind of derelict buildings, and then there's a lot of new builds that are actually quite impressive with big glass walls. And this is the kind of thing I want to open up between 120 metres to 150 metres square. And then the rest of the money would go to kitting out my gym and studio with high quality products. So my branding is black and gold, so the branding inside goes with black and gold, like golden barbells and things like that.
Yeah.
And then just kind of like investing in like front end and back end products. So
Okay.
front end would be like group studio sessions, like 30-day trial sort of things. And the back end would be sort of online programs like with 3 or 4 different criteria, sort of Olympic lifting, CrossFit, fat burning, that kind of thing. To keep people circling around. There's a few people that I kind of follow on social media who use this kind of system, and it works quite well for them, and I basically just want to copy them because it works.
Why not? If it works, right?
Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah. So that's it, right?
That's it.
Thanks. Woo! A deafening round of applause. Is there anyone else maybe who wants to try it, or like it's sure. Like if you want, you know, as I mentioned, this is more for the sake of of taking the opportunity.
Hi. So my name is Pulkit. I'm working on a sustainable packaging solution business for B2B, for small business and medium scale businesses. I'm looking for funding of around 60,000 euros for 20% of equity. I've divided in my funding into 3 parts. The first is website development, because as is the most crucial part of the business. So 20,000 I have allocated to website development. Second is 25,000 will go in research and development, as to find out like how we can reinvent packaging and reusable packaging. And another 15,000 euros will be for the samples. So like sending out samples to all over the world to small businesses and check it out, like how do they feel about it.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Amazing. Thanks. So it was super fruitful. Maybe you want to try or not? Like it's
I'll try it. I mean, this might be a little bit unconventional, because I think the investment is not really into the company itself. Actually, it's an investment in the product that we are leasing out. So basically, imagine a single hotel site with 5 cabins with a budget of 200,000, where you're investing, and it's backed up with real estate. Basically, if the project fails, you can sell the real estate. Comparing to often airy-fairy projects that promise a lot of users, burning through millions of dollars basically, without any backing of any tangible basically assets. So in this case, the investment is in
harsh real estate.
In the real estate.
So we need 200K to get started, right?
No, I mean it would be basically that's a single site. Yeah. So whatever the real estate it is.
So what would be your needs?
What would be the need?
Yeah.
In that particular site.
So for you to get started, right? So you would go for one site, or is it like additional?
Starting with one site, for example, as an example. So it doesn't require for me to have any staff basically to organize, let's say, the first site. It does require basically connections with the prefab manufacturers, basically, and securing the real estate in terms of the land, and basically the rest is. Of course, finding the first client who could lease, who I can lease that particular hotel to.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay.
So anyway, but that's
our field. Okay. Thanks. I think it's healthy. So I see that everyone is prepared, and it was like instantly you know the idea, you know your needs. So thanks a lot for that. Do you have any?
Yeah, we also have 2 people, so maybe I can read out.
Please do.
Okay. So first of all, the first message from Diana. I think in order to make and test MVP for my project for expats and immigrants, I need 2,000 euros. I will create a group in Facebook and advertise it for testing ideas.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and the idea is something about migrants, but
yeah, it's not specified
okay.
Projects for expats and migrants.
Okay.
And the other one shared, I would like to receive 500,000 euros for 5% of the company. My company is going to recycle tire into rubber granulates.
Yeah.
At the moment, the plan is to sell the rubber granulates in bulk. However, in the future, I would like to open manufacturing facility that will utilize recycled product.
Okay.
Currently, I need funding to buy equipment that will separate tire rubber from the inner metals and eventually cut the tires to create rubber granulates.
Okay, super interesting. Yeah, and the reason why we've done this and the presentation, so the one part is like for the sake of you getting like that one additional step of experience, and when you go like those 100 steps, you'll have like a whole another level of confidence. So that's like one part. But the other actually is to show that the thing that you don't need funding, you shouldn't need funding to get started is really essential. And this is what I want to leave you with. Like, I know it sounds like super crazy, and it might sound that I just don't know what I'm talking about. But like, this is like the number one thing which I want to take out. And why is because I really want you to succeed. Like I really do, we have those, like pitch battles or whatever, where just everyone looks at the technicalities. How good is the pitch? How do you have the structure right? How does the business model look? And it actually doesn't matter. The only thing you have to focus on is how you can reach the first initial revenue without touching a single outside source of funding. And this is the essence. Like by this you have the highest chances of succeeding. So let's take I'll try to remember everything, and I will just give you like my example. So let's take the rubber tire thing, right? So I saw a video on YouTube. I haven't done my research, but I saw a video on YouTube where an African girl actually does the same thing, where she basically she shreds it could have been like plastic bottles or whatever, and recycles them to like the other material like plastic bricks and outsources them. And she was able to manufacture all the equipment purely by herself, and it was of course homemade, like and the environment was in the garage and whatever. But what I want to say is that you might not need to, what I would go for is get 100 tires and think of ways how you can shred them without touching any outside money. It might be that you might go to municipality. Wherever, in your city you have, like government buildings, start knocking on the doors and say, I want to shred tires because I want to be sustainable. Maybe, a company who does that, and they will say, yeah, maybe there is this company who has the equipment, and you just go and say that, look, I just want to try it out. I can give you like 100 euros if you could just let me use like, how much tires I can shred with 100 euros. Just shred it, get the, like a bag of shredded rubber, and just try to sell it. And it's for the sake, and this is an essential step where everyone misses. So this is for the sake of a couple of things. Firstly, you get confidence if you're able to close something. Small victories are what you have to aim for. You can't aim for big victories. So this is one thing, the initial confidence. And the other, as I mentioned, you have to have some initial revenue and on which you can bind why the idea should be successful. In your case, right, I would go for you want to sell, let's say, jewelry. there are so many ways to do so. You know, you can start and get the initial revenue by going selling on eBay, Facebook groups, or whatever. And what you have to hit is the reality. Is it really like the thing, you know, which can be scalable, and get the rocket, you know, first. So now, please, for 10 minutes, this is the most important part. Think of non-scalable, ugly, nasty things which you could do to get the first clients. The first, let's say, it might be one client if you're in the high ticket sales, right? And it might be that you're in the first 10 clients if you're in lower tickets. But now, please spend 10 minutes of thinking at least of a couple of ways what you could do, like a tangible strategy which you could do to reach the first traction without external funding. Yeah, so for those who are at home, same thing applies. Once you have figured out a tactic or a couple of tactics how you can test your idea without or like with the least amount of money. Imagine with yours or with your parents' money. Please share it once you have it. Would love to hear it. And maybe someone is ready here. To be honest, what happened for me personally, yeah. So as I mentioned, I was aiming for the funding because I had to do it. I just had to have it because how can you otherwise reach your results? And it took us for me and my co-founder, it took us 3 days. We really sat down and we thought, okay, no, we are not getting the money. Like this is what you should be your first assumption. You're not getting the money because why should you? If you're not a rock star, if you don't have traction, why should you get money? You know. So this is the first initial assumption that you don't wait for handouts, don't wait for things to just slide. Anticipate for rejection and anticipate of how you're going to overcome it. So we spent 3 days of thinking how we can do it with our own resources. And for us, the answer was, as I mentioned in the start, was to have a Facebook group. Like we wanted to build a learning platform. And to start with a Facebook group, it was super counterintuitive. It was super ugly. But from our first day, we were profitable. We streamed the lessons, and we said our tactic was if you want to learn from those lessons, right? I will stream my physics and maths twice per week. But if you want to see those streams, you have to pay €8 for it. And this was the MVP, and that's it. And you very surely find out, like if nobody wants it, then it's amazing. Then maybe you need a pivot, or maybe that's not the one idea which will explode. But that is so just this is so time saving, so within the first week we knew that there is a need for us, because we had like initial maybe 20 customers to whom I streamed my lessons. They paid €2 per lesson, and it was amazing. It was just super grateful experience to have those lessons. So yeah, so this is how we were able to build an MVP without a single euro from externally. So maybe do we have some ideas of how you could test your product? Yeah, please. Please come. Just go for it. Use the opportunity.
Hi. As my idea was creating a sustainable packaging solution, so I thought to start by visiting Etsy.com, which is basically e-commerce platform for handmade products and unique products. The reason why I want to start from there is because what I feel like those kind of stores are always looking for how they can enhance or add value to their products by packaging or by other ways. So I will contact and message them on Etsy.com. It's easy to just text them and tell them my packaging. Actually, before even texting them, I will just tell them like, okay, like as I am a bit graphic designer, I have friends who can do it for free, basically. So just ask them like, okay, like there's a product like who's creating some jewelry. So how, like, what kind of packaging we can offer to them, and I will send them samples like online. Like, okay, like we can do this kind of packaging for you. And then if they respond, okay, no, we already have or we don't have it. From there I will move, and I think it could be a good testing stage for me because maybe as from my analysis which I did till now is like a lot of customers, like a lot of brands don't even approach to do something in their packaging. And if you just come from yourself and like, okay, like tell them, okay, you should do this thing, and you already provide the material, like maybe they don't want to do with me, but they do it by themselves. It's still this kind of trust I can develop with them. Maybe,
exactly, totally. Like the way I would do it is, and this is also just the top of my head, you know. The way I would do it, I would find a successful Lithuanian product, like which is maybe even based in Vilnius, you know. Check out Instagram, check out, you know, like what is going on the just, you know, cloths or whatever. Like pick any niche, find a good product which sucks at packaging. So how you can test that? Maybe, you know, you can just ask various people, what do you love but like sucks in packaging, you know, and you find the product, and maybe you do like you know, instead of just approaching them, you know, hi, I want to do packaging for you, buy like the smallest, cheapest item from them, and maybe return it in your packaging, and you know, show like how amazing it is, and just say maybe you want for the whole brand to have that feeling, and I can take that, you know, take care of it, and I can do this extra. Maybe I can, you know, just come to your storage room, and I can just put the boxes like in place, and I would take like no money for it, only for like the materials, because I just want to test it out and just see like, is there a need really for this, you know, and just to basically dip my toes in it. And this is doable, right?
Yeah, and that's what the next step I was thinking about, but as I was already thinking about that, I don't want to spend any money. So it's like, okay, let's approach them, because that's how I was thinking, like, okay, like I will get their products, and then I will say, okay, like how they are doing packaging, and then I will just resend. Like I was not resending them because still like it doesn't even make sense to resend to them, but I would still like just do some suggestion, okay, like, you know, like I got your product and I was thinking like maybe, you know, there you can add value because
exactly. So amazing, thanks, super good. Now I want to applaud you harder. Anyone else? Maybe
I got you.
so let's see how we can launch massive and actually strong business without any money. Please let me know, because I have no idea.
EU could always help, you know. Like the main profile that I am targeting are people like who are tired of city life, corporate life, who want to just basically change the pace of life and run a small hotel somewhere in the countryside. So of course, I mean, they don't have money capital, and would need like larger investors who would actually cover that initial cost. Of course, get it back from the lease. But to test this concept, I mean, look, EU has large funds to transition farmers away from intensive agriculture to rural tourism. So basically, those funds are available often to farmers. And if I have, well, some chance to basically get some farmers on board who actually test that concept, that could be encouraging to larger investors who actually then invest in that concept.
Amazing.
To lease it out.
And while you're, you know, while you were talking about what I remembered is that when I was in this Reach for Change Accelerator, there was the other idea of like providing camps for students where we could do acting. It's a very specific niche, right? But what we've done is we landed like, I think like 200, maybe even 300,000 euros of EU funding, purely just to get that in the place for the kids to go there, you know. So maybe finding like a good tourist spot, like outside in the countryside. You see that the owners, they know that what they're doing. They have the nice, nice houses, everything, whatever, and saying that, look, I have a business proposal for you. I know that you can take this granting. I can take care of it. I can take all the documentation. So basically, what we'll do is, like, without any, maybe even no money from your side, but you have like the ecosystem. Like adding an additional cabin to, because you're already there. You're taking care of the places. So adding an additional cabin, like maybe a single one, wouldn't hurt you, right? Like the extra income. Why not? Like if it's for free, I would love it that someone would approach me, and if you would take care of it, get maybe a percentage for a success rate or something like that, just to get the ball rolling, and maybe you'll find that, damn, you're very good at this, closing those deals, and now how, maybe you can convince the person to go for 5 more or 10 more, and see how you can roll it out. So yeah, thanks, super great. Do you have maybe any tactics to share?
Yeah.
Please do. Not mandatory yet, first.
Yeah, so for me, it's kind of all on sort of reputation of myself as a trainer that hinges on people coming to train with me, especially in a foreign country where I'm kind of like by myself. But fortunately for me, I am kind of like developing a good reputation here already as a fitness instructor. So not to like shove my head up your ass, but like
go for it.
So I'm a Nike ambassador as well.
Yeah.
So I have a backing of a big company like Nike who kind of represent me. I'm an ex-Royal Marines commando, so like I've got the military background and a couple of things as well. And I also now have a contract with Impulse, so I can have my future classes that I would have in my own gym, in Impulse gyms, and so that already opens up like a market. They've not employed me, but signed a contract with me. So that means that they see the opportunity for them to attract maybe a different type of client, like international client, into their classes. And then for me, I can use that to show like my training, if people are interested in it, and then maybe in a few months down the line, I can say, hey guys, you can have me. I can train you at this gym for cheaper than Impulse.
Amazing. And to add to that, like also just out of top of my head, maybe you have this program which is like maybe super amazing, and you might see like flaws, maybe even in Impulse or like in smaller gyms, which it might be easier, to leverage a deal, and coming and saying that, look, I have this. I think that the way you're doing, what you're doing is good, but I think that I know how to do it better, and maybe you just want, I just want to test like if it's really necessary, if it's really good, so trying to land some form of a deal where you would come out and you would maybe even do a test thing with like a revenue share or whatever. Do like this is a hard sale where you go like face to face to the company and try to land it. Might not work out, but you might learn like, or maybe we need like what could potentially work out, but still might be an idea to tackle for. Amazing, thanks. And do you have anyone in Zoom?
Yeah, Diana shared. If we're talking about my sponsored MVP, I will use a conservative way to promote Facebook group. If we talk about free solutions, then in this case, I need to produce more viral, provocative content that helps to promote the group.
Exactly. Yes, of course. And if you need, I think that there are very few communities which are run by advertising. We are more word of mouth. So maybe you just need, instead of just figuring out how you can build a super massive community, maybe you just have to find 10 really engaging people who love posting, who love sharing the things, and you can approach them, buy them a coffee, go with them and just share your idea why this is so important, and just ask, maybe you could do like 2 posts per week type of deal to get the ball started, and then going to various events where your target audience potentially might be, and saying that this is a group which might be interesting for you. I think you can do it with a couple of coffees to start with. Yeah, so I think that this is basically the wrap up. I'm not sure if I was able to transition. The most important messaging here is that you can't be, although we talked today about funding, you can't be funding oriented. You have to be revenue retention oriented firstly, and the way you approach an investor is not by saying that come sleep with me, but rather you're interesting for me, potentially let's find it out, maybe I can be interesting for you, and think of this as a 2, 3, maybe 6 months type of a relationship, which often doesn't end up in a closed round, but it might lead you to. Yeah, that's basically roughly all I wanted to say, and maybe I don't know, now might be a good time for questions if we have any. Please.
I have a question about your situation.
Yeah.
After investments, what % of your company still belongs to you?
This is where investors' agreements come in. So in my one, I am not, I can't disclose the direct percentage, but I can give you a range. Okay. So first deals, if you're, if you want this to be long term, right, and if you see that it will be only a money deal, they'll give you the money, and you won't see them again. Like imagine this, so it should be up to 25%. So it is ranging, in the market it is ranging between 10 and 25%. This is what you give out, and the rest should be yours to the founding team, right? And if you will overdo it, let's say somebody walks in and says, I'll give you 100K for 60% of the company. That's like instant money. I want this, right? But it might turn out that you'll burn the money and the revenue won't be coming in, and what will be left is less than half of the company and no money. So yeah, you have to be aiming, I would say, up to 25%. Anything on Zoom going on?
We had a question before.
Yeah.
Is it possible for startup companies or small enterprises to get investment from PEs?
I wouldn't say so, actually. It actually, okay, everything is possible. And I'd like to give you a concrete example. I showed you Žabolis and partners, this PE firm, which actually, they might be all of their deals are very conservative. They have to be calculated, whatever. But we might see that this, leveraging this industry might turn out to be fruitful for them. So if we are doing let's say in 10 years they done 20 deals and all of them were safe, it might be that they could take this opportunity and say we might go for something riskier, which actually Žabol has done. We invested in this edtech called. I think it was called maybe even Tamo, something. I'm not sure which product was it, but we actually invested in an idea stage. But we really believed in the founders. We were strong, we were capable, we had success stories. So it was something which wasn't ever done, and we might not do that again. So I would say very unlikely, possible.
Can you elaborate a bit more about Accelerator programs? How does it work?
So oftenly how it works is that you have a not competition, atranka. like the stage where you get chosen or not chosen
Yeah.
to get into, right? The application stage.
Yeah.
The application stage where you pitch your idea and they say either you're in or you're not in. You maybe need some additional time. And if you're in, then you get training, you get various exercises like workshops like these. I would call that this event at least short-term accelerator program. Yeah. So and it depends on the on the accelerator. It might be that it's like 3 months deal, which is like aimed for 0.5% of your company, or just purely for free, funded by a government or stuff like that. So you have to look into the details. I would be very cautious to go for an equity-based accelerator. They are actually frequent. So I would be cautious to go for one. But unless we are super good and you see that you can leverage pure value, not just education. So yeah, events, and you're obliged to let's say do a pitch deck. At the end of those accelerators, mostly we have like a pitch battle where everyone with their ideas comes after all those workshops, after all that time spent thinking how to do the business. They do a pitch, and at the end there might be a winner, maybe a couple of winners with prize money, and some exposure, and you get some exposure, and it might be helpful for you. But what I would look into is the mentors in those accelerators. It might be that person is in your industry, and he can provide you like massive value, or maybe even potential mentorship, or maybe even potential funding. I didn't have a case like this, but it happens really. Yeah. So more definitely, if you see that the mentors are the ones what you would need, I would really consider it. So I think that we are ready to wrap it up. Yeah. Do you feel that the time has been spent well? Yeah. Okay. So if you will be able to close a small deal, which will land you maybe 50 euros, maybe less, or maybe thousands, whatever. But if you'll be able to do that purely by your own, with your own resources, know that somewhere I am smiling. Yeah. So thanks a lot, guys. Yeah. Have a great evening.
Yeah, Eimantas, thank you so much. And a little bit of information on next week. So next week we will be having this kind of Christmassy networking thing in Active Youth's office. So Active Youth's office is in the Naugarduko Street, so it's a little bit more central. You will get an email with the registration link and basically where we are, etc. It's a really cool opportunity. It's specifically for this event, but for the Migrant Talent Garden. But we'll ask a lot of people from our office are going to be there. All the organizers are going to be there. Some of them are a little bit traveling at the moment. But most of the organizers will be there. We will present everything that will happen in January. So the mentorship I asked again, it will happen in January already. And the last 3 events that we have. So everything just detailed and explained, and also some snacks, some Christmassy vibes, a lot of other people from some other events that maybe if they want to join and hear a bit more about the project. So yeah, fingers crossed you're gonna come. It's gonna be really cool. And if you have any questions, you can always ask us, email us. I'll make sure Vanessa gets back on the emails and gets back to work. So yeah.
Today we were also expecting some information about taxes. Last time, maybe she was Vanessa. She told us there will be additional lecture on taxes and
and actually I had to cover that. Like very briefly, actually I didn't mention that at all. For the taxes situation, it's simple. You just have to learn. You just have to read. So because I am not expert in taxes, and I haven't been able to save $1 million or euros in taxes. I have been able to track the funding of that amount. So this is why I was focused to that. You have Versli Lietuva. I think.
Yes,
Yeah, like what I've done every time, you know, I had a taxes issue. I called them and they said, I have this issue, can you solve it? And they did, you know, and that's very simple. Like if you don't know what type of, company you have to open in order to have like pay the least amount of money, what are the benefits, all of that stuff. It is super easy to learn. Of course, like that high-end stuff, where like I believe that even now, like we suck at taxes and we waste extra money on that. But don't think about that. Think about getting the first money. So, like in your case, for instance, do you have a company already?
Yes, we already have a company who are there.
Yeah.
But last year there were some changes in law, tax law. So as I know, Memby is more. Memby has more advantages than
Yeah, and I would really consider like having an MB. So what you can do is like basically have an assessment of how much money you would need to open it. I think it's like it is in like hundreds of euros.
We can change also from UAD to Memby, as I know. And
I wouldn't consider losing an UAV. And why is that? Is because once you have the traction, you might see that it's scalable, and I wouldn't scale MB. Like no good business can be built on the beast because it's very like risk intolerant. Something might go wrong, it's on you, right? With MB. If something goes wrong in UAB, it's on the company. So I would most definitely think that if you're good to go for UAB. What you have to aim for with the UAV is just lowering the profits which you have, and there can be like a lot of things which can save, like depreciation of the So this is where just a good accountant comes in and actually does all the good stuff. At least like this is how it should work, theoretically. I would say that if you have like a strict direct question, aim for like the ecosystem is just wonderful. It is very rare case that you have such a vast access to this help. This place exactly like serves as a good incubator for those ideas, and all those organizations we have the answers handy with the use cases. And if you're focusing on the taxation, it might not be, at least you shouldn't focus on the taxation from the beginning. That will come in time, and just do additional reading, and you'll be good to go. Yeah. Terrible tax advice. But this is what works for me, and all I could do here is, we have all of our expertise. I'm backing off the tax expertise.
I guess also in the mentorship program we can try to find someone who can maybe help out with these things.
But yeah, like I think that like the question is like what kind of issues you're going to have.
the problem in UAB we need to pay additional social taxes.
Yes. Not necessarily.
According to change in last year, we are able to withdraw as salaries up to 100,000 euros without social payments. Only we need to pay 15% income tax.
Yeah, definitely. And if you have verslo liudijimas, there's like a solo, type of
This is
deal.
also a question. My wife has individual vehicle. She's also selling online. And we want to change it to verslo.
I would most definitely go for it. This is where I'm good at, because I was a tutor and I was doing, I figured out that in Lithuania there's major flaw with verslo liudijimas. Like basically it's just untaxable. Like if you earn up to 45,000 euros a year, you basically are just doing business without any taxes. if you're smart, and like there's like only like a couple of euros per day if you pay out like 2 euros for 1 day which is active, and that's all the taxes you get. And most definitely, if you're trying out a business, actually this is what I would go for, and I would think just what kind of category should I pick to start with, and that's it. Like this would be like my #1 thing to do. And if I see that I'm now looking seriously in it, I would still go for UAV just for the sake of the structure. It has like way thicker walls to build a good foundation on, And for MB, if you have like if you're a team, 5 maybe people or whatever, I would go for but you're not scaling yet. MB is also good to just to save the money, and like the specifics, as I mentioned, just go for a call and maybe find with the taxes, what is like. Why I wouldn't say that you should go like for taxes for tax mentorship is because the taxes is just such a vast category, and it's like specifics, like where you have to have like basically a consultant which like sits next to you and looks into your numbers and can say you can save here, here, and here. And up until then, it's just like broad information, like what is going on, like everything you can find just online, just by reading. Of course, the Lithuanian situation might be mostly presented in the Lithuanian language, so that might be a difficulty. But also, you just just think with a person who can read Lithuanian and telling you all that stuff is more than enough to get started. Yeah. So Versludimas is the way to go to avoid the taxes. And there are nuances, like as I mentioned, like depreciation is the one we use. There are difficult ones. I like really difficult ones. Is the ones like, let's say if with the upfront payments. You can accept upfront payments, but then you have virtually to split them over the months, and then there is like all those additional steps which you can even lower that split sum. So what it means is that you get a lot of money, but your taxes get delayed or even shrank. So those things are happening. But as I mentioned, I would find specifics paying for yourself and just go for a consultant. And this is where mentorship comes in.
Yes.
Curio, there's an app for that, like Curio or LinkedIn. Curio is Q-O-O-R-I-O, something like that. So there are like industry people, right? Or LinkedIn. Just connect, say that I have this problem. Maybe you want to grab a coffee, we'll talk about it. And mostly it's just a price of a coffee. Yeah, and it's specific, not broad.
Yes, very specific. In our situation, for example, VAT also problem. If you sell over Europe, it is different. If you sell outside,
you are VAT payers?
VAT, no, not payer. You also don't pay because we sell outside EU.
Oh yeah, that sucks. We are working with that as well. Okay. Now we are getting. So we sell our service without VAT. Because it's education, but once we are buying something in the countries.
You are paying VAT.
Yeah, and this is where the problem is. So when you buy something, the company or whatever might say you have to pay VAT, and then you come to Lithuania and might say, but you got a service maybe or something else, because this is why you have to pay VAT in Lithuania as well.
Yes.
And for that specific case, what we built is we just paid 1,000 euros for Grant Thornton to build this recommendation with stamps, and now whenever like there's this dispute regarding should we pay or not pay, we just will send the stamp and say no, we are not going to pay VAT in this country because we have to pay that in Lithuania. And also how we've done is that like even them, let's say like the consultants for which we pay like 1,000 euros, they don't know the answer for our taxes. What we've done is we collected 10 questions. And 10 questions. We could have done that as well. Okay, so this might be my best tax advice there is. So collect the questions and send it to. I'm not sure what's the organization called for the taxes. Damn, I forgot. Maybe Sondra?
VMI.
VMI. Thank you.
Yeah.
You get a star. So we just sent a list of questions. It's totally free. It took them like 3 or 7 days to respond, whatever, and you just get an answer which is proven and it's like undisputed. And this is how we are doing it, So that might be a good advice actually, is just to collect all the questions and make an inquiry to VMI and we'll have like direct solutions. Yeah. Good.
Thank
Okay.
you guys. See you next week.
Thanks a lot for inviting me. It was
Thanks
actually
very much.
yeah.